Okay, I'm going to show you how I clean my paintbrushes that I've been using with oil paints. And I use a small medium-sized jar like this. This is a little plastic jar. And I'm going to put in some odorless paint thinner. This is the brand I use a lot, Mona Lisa. It's inexpensive and I find it cleans just as good and it's just as odorless as some of the more expensive brands. So I put it into the plastic jar and I fill it maybe halfway with the odorless thinner. And I'm going to put a screen in the bottom of this jar. You can see that little screen on the right. That's actually part of a downspout gutter screen that you can get from Lowe's for about $3. And you can trim it. It's easy to trim. It's just made of aluminum. And I can squeeze it and get it into the bottom of this little jar. And I use that to rub my brushes against when it's inside. You can see it's inside the paint thinner right now. And so then I'll just rub my brush against that when I'm cleaning it. Now I've got a brush that I've been painting with for a while, and I've just wiped it off some of the paint. And I'll wipe off a little more. You can see I'm still getting paint on the brush. So I'm going to go back and forth on the screen. Careful not to just hit the ends of the brush tips too hard on that screen. But just go back and forth on the screen until it stops showing that paint is coming off of the brush. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. And I'll keep doing this a little bit until I really don't detect much paint at all. Okay, something like that. All right, that's what I do every time I'm done with painting. I usually do something like this. And if I'm going to paint the next day, I'll just take some of the paint off like this with the odorless thinner, and I'll put it in a plastic bag and save it for the next day. If I'm going to store it long-term storage, that's different. And I put it in a little plastic bag. Some of these brushes I've been using for the last couple of days, so I just keep them in a plastic bag as I'm still using them. Okay, and that's what I do. Now, if I'm going to store my brush for an extended period of time, that's a whole different story. So after I clean it with the paint thinner, I'll actually go and clean it with soap in hot water or warm water. Any kind of soap will work okay. I find though that this Treacle oil soap, linseed oil soap that I've been using, it works amazing, and I've been using this lately and it really works great. So what I'll do is I'll just put some warm water on the brush. Now keep in mind I've already cleaned it with the paint thinner, so now I'm just going for the next step. I'm going to store it long-term storage. So put a little bit of hot water on it, and I'm just going to swipe it on top of the soap. This is a medium-sized brush. And I'll keep doing that until you'll see a little bit of residue come out on top, and you'll see it gets a little darker on top of this linseed oil soap. Okay, you can see it now. Some of the paint's still coming off. That's deep in the bristles. Okay, you can see it's coming off. Some of the paint's coming off there. And then I'll rinse that out, and I'll also rinse my brush out. Okay, I'm rinse my brush out, and I'll rinse that off a little bit. And I'll just kind of work that into the brush a little more, and then I'll rinse it off. And I'll also rinse off the end, just like this, right into the end of the brush inside. And then I'll just repeat the process. And I'll go back and I'll keep doing this until I don't see any more paint residue coming off that brush. So I'm putting some more on again. And I'm starting to see a little bit more come out, just a tiny bit. So I'm going to keep going, try to get it, because the more you do this, the more you go back and forth, it's going to get that deep paint out of the brush. Okay. So I'll rinse that off again. Just kind of repeat this process till I stop seeing that residue. Rinse off inside. Okay, I'm going to try it again and just see. Okay, now I'm going back and forth, and I'm not seeing any more residue, so for the most part, this brush is clean now. And I'm just going to go ahead and rinse it off and then store it. So this is what I do if I'm going to store a brush for a few days, and I'm not going to be painting with it for a few days. Otherwise, that little extra residue will dry inside the brush. Okay, I find that really works good for oil paint, getting the oil paint out of the brush. Okay, now it's ready to store, and I'll put it in a little plastic bag sometimes. Just it's also good to just leave it out and let it dry. If you've got it completely clean like that, it should last a long time. I would store it flat. When you do store it though, just lay it down flat. Okay, and that's about it.